guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Well, I guess we'll start here. So, this is a Commander. This is the Commander 2 VHF version. I made several different versions of this. I made a 6-meter version, 70-centimeter version, and a couple others. But what we got here is what this thing's been doing all night. This has got a very rare, is it 3CX or 4CX? Made by Palstar. Okay. Palstar Inc. Command Technologies. It's got a 3CPX 800A7, which is a rare tube. Very rare tube. This one's set up for the 2-meter band. It's currently wired on 220. And my biggest thing is I don't know the last time this amplifier has been lit off, like as in run. So just in case, it's like almost impossible, but one of the precautionary things that we do is we run the amp without any high voltage present on the anode. Let the filament sit there and bake. And just there's any chance there's any molecules of foreign gas or anything that's built up inside the tube. The tube sitting there building heat will take care of that naturally with the filament. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch our high voltage bleed off. Now our high voltage is nowhere on our anode deck. Nowhere on the high voltage deck whatsoever. How do we know this? Is because last night, before I went to bed, I went in here and I took the deck open. I was kind of curious, even though I got color pictures of it. I took the deck open and took me a look for. I gotta get the right Allen wrench out here. Took me a look for around, and I disconnected the high voltage so I could run the tube, and it's just been sitting here running all night. Now, this is what some operators would call degassing. I personally don't believe there's a lot to this after seeing how these tubes are made, and seeing the wonderful processes they go through in their production, that I find it almost impossible that the seals would break down. Taking into account they got to put them in a hydrogen furnace to get the porcelain to separate from the metal. I'm going to grab a tube to show you an example. Here, I'll use my 3000 demo tube. It's perfect for this situation. So what I'm talking about is this seal here. These physical joints, okay? Slide the heavy ass anode off. As you can see, on the inside of all of these, the seal's on the outside. And you should see the glue they use. It's not a liquid like what we normally think. It's a powder that becomes liquid underneath temperature. But the whole tube's constructed in the same format. The data sheet says that the breakdown temperature is whatever on the seals, usually about 300 or 400 degrees C. From what I've seen physically with my own two eyes, the temperature is much higher than that on the seals. So I have a hard time believing that little tiny molecules of air can get in there, but what's a couple hours of running? 10 versus safety. Okay. I'd rather be cautious than regretting the fact. Now, this amplifier here, let's identify. High voltage is also shorted out here with a dead man switch. This is our high voltage lead. It's on a BNC connector, which clicks in right here. Click. Our high voltage is reconnected. So we reach in here, we'll grab a flat blade screwdriver and let you guys see the inside of the anode deck. I keep saying anode deck. I don't know why. It's something in my vocabulary this morning. Inside the amp deck. Don't want to lose that frickin' lock washer that's on there. When this thing comes to you, the transformer will be out of it. It'll be separate. It's really simple. You're going to plug in this connector after putting down the 4 screws that hold it in place. Got a connector here, and then another connector over here on the other side. The manual that comes with this box this is your service manual with full schematics. Here's your instruction manual with color pictures. Okay? And it literally gives you step-by-step instructions on how to assemble it when you get it from the factory. This is your amp. This is your amp on drugs. This is what amps will do to your family. This is what radio will do to your brain. Oh, wait a minute. We're not doing a 1980s drug commercial. Sorry. My bad. My bad. It's going to show you exactly how to drop this in. You're seriously going to hook up 2 little connectors that cannot be hooked up backwards. It's that simple. But this amp was designed to be transported without the transformer in it. So when I go and I ship it back across the country, thusly not knowing which direction is going to be faced up and face down, we want to be able to respect that and not bend our cabinet. We'll take this apart off screen. Let's get the camera over here on the tripod. Let's go take a look at this beautiful tube. Look at that. Oh, almost looks straight out of the box Factoria. That's an iMac, by the way. What's really neat is this is our plate choke. That's our bypass cap. That's our high voltage. This is our blocker. And then you gotta like how this is a tuned inductor here. This bar actually goes over and shorts to ground, which is the opposite of what most of us are normally thinking about as far as, you know, we'd want to see a coil here. So we're going to see the blocker go directly to the back of a capacitor, and then you're going to see an induction coil or inductor coil, otherwise known as a tank coil. That's going to attach to our other tuner, and then our coax is going to come off of that. Well, the way they did this is backwards. This is a tuned inductor, and through resonance it makes its connection. It's kind of cool. But you got to think like that when you're thinking in higher frequency. I was really interested about how the inside of this amp deck was put together. When we first saw this, it first came up for us to have the opportunity to come play with it. Is this was more entertaining to me than all this other shit. Because all this other shit stays the same. This was the only thing that changed. Now, I've seen in manuals lots and lots of little legal limit amplifiers. I believe in the what was the first one I ever looked at? I think it was a 1996 or 1986 or 1985 ARRL handbook. They had 1 kW 3CPX 800A7 amp in there for 2 meters. And I vaguely remember that. It's just amazing to me what's going on in here. I mean, we got all the rest of the other stuff, our bias supply, and down here we've got our high voltage rectifier, and then our plate, transformer, our little blower, so on and so on and so on. The thing I noticed about this is that on the other commanders that I've seen, this transformer is on the outside. For some reason it's on the inside. This must be some kind of updated model. But this here is in pristine condition. Beyond pristine condition. really quite neat. All right, I'm going to put this back together, and for RF saturation purposes and about every other safety reason I can think of, we're going to make sure that every screw and nut and bolt's in this thing. And let me drag over a 2-meter radio. I'm sure I've got 2 or 3 laying around here that we could make this happen with. And hopefully I have the right size element that we can load and tune this thing properly. So we shall return. This amplifier holds an interesting place in my mind. So in the day, you'd want something like this with a big old set of stacked up beams, and we're talking like 6 set of beams. Well, I guess it's easier to do moon bounce on a higher frequency, but you would use something like this for a whole lot of different reasons of what's happening today. Did you guys know that there's a new frontier that's taking place in amateur radio right now? It's weird how this phenomenon has not hit my town where I live yet. I don't know if the rule Nazis would let that happen here or not, but in most major cities, from what I understand, the 2-meter has become worse than most CBs. And everything is about power, everything is about big beams, but being at the higher frequency, the antennas are smaller, everything's smaller. It's a little bit easier to work with. Wrong screw, buddy. Oh, see, that one goes here. Okay. So I'm going to be interested to see where this goes. I will only sell this to an amateur operator. Seriously. I'm not too interested in getting in the middle of the no RF power war, but from what I understand, in most of the major cities, whoever can lock out whatever their local repeater is, or key on so-and-so simplex, it's just a war on another frequency. Which doesn't surprise me. There's a group of AM guys on 80 meters that are crazy. There's a group on 40 meters that are crazy. There's a group on 20 that are crazy. There's some dudes down on 160 meters that I know of, or that are a little off their rocker too. And I think that's what makes radio alive and well. I promote all of it. Anything you put RF in and more comes out the other end, I'm all about it. All about it. And then the use of it underneath proper supervised legal means, of course. And that was my da-don't-ch. Okay. I just can't believe how good a shape this thing's in. I mean, there's not like any dust or anything on this thing. It's crazy. But somebody out there loved this very, very much. And I'm grateful that they did. And it's going to go on to live some other place. Just got to be able to put it back together without scratching nothing. So I got to digging. This is what I've got. It is a 250 watt, 100 through 250 megahertz slug. Pardon me. Line element, coupler, sampler. So with the power of our multiplier, I think we're going to be okay. I know the dummy load's good for that frequency. See, I don't want to tighten these up, wear out the 632 threads that are in here. I just want to hold the lid down tight enough that we don't worry about our high voltage disconnect coming undone back there. And I want to put another layer of metal insulation between me and the outside world, or the inside world here. All right, let's hook this up. I got to tell you, my 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is even better. I wanted to use my old tri-bander, man. I love this radio. I got a ton of really fond memories of me and this radio and all the different things we did together, and people I met because of it and the experiences I had because of it. Sit here and tell all the stories. And I went to hook it up, and it's got a failure to launch. That's later. So we're going to use my backup to my backup to my backup. This is a Kenwood TM799. Yeah, 799. What we have here is a 100-watt element. We have it faced forward. So let's go in here and let's take a look. Okay, so the radio itself is producing 3 watts of input power. 3 whole watts. That's on low, medium, just shy of about 4 watts, and then high is 30 watts. Now, according to our typical operation sheet, it says that 12 watts will get us roughly 450 watts out, 18.5 will get us 650 watts out, and 30 watts will get us a full kilowatt. So I doubt we'll see the full kilowatt, but I know we're going to get close. Now the only meter that we're going to look at over here today is this one here in the background. Okay? That's a 250 watt element. It's the biggest 2-meter element I have. After today, I guarantee you, I'll have coaxial dynamics all the way up to a kilowatt plus. For this video here this afternoon, we're going to have to play on our multiplier, which is going to go in integers of 250, 500, and 1250 watt meter ranges, okay? So, let's see here. Back the tripod out here a little bit more. Now remember, when we see full needle deflection, that's going to tell us that we're seeing full output power. Now, let's go ahead and put this thing in transmit. Whoop. Go back down and low. Boop, 250 watts. No big deal. Let's take our drive. We're going to back our drive down. So back this down to, let's say, 150 watts of power. And we're going to sit here and we're going to play. Now remember, we're in FM. Okay? But the amplifier supports all modes of operation. So we're going to tune for our max out. $300. What's our data sheet say? 400 mils. Keep that close. So we tune for max power, and then we look at how much we're actually pulling plate. So there's 250 watts of power. Hold on a second. That's a little bit better point of view. Okay, now we'll take our multiplier and we're going to go to 2 times. So now when the needle moves all the way to the right over here, that shows us our input power. That's showing the output power. When the needle moves all the way to the right, that'll be 500 watts. So there's our 250, 400 watts. We're pulling 400 mils. Let's redip this. Now we're looking at 2 things here. We're tuning for the lowest amount of draw here and the maximum amount of watt power output there. So there's 480 watt dead key. Just a hair over 400 mils with only 3 watts going in. I think the tube is in great condition myself, me personally. Before we get any farther along, let's get out our FLIR. And we've currently got only 103 exhaust air temperature, and our ambient room temperature is 65. Okay, so let's put this thing back in operation. We're going to turn our drive knob way down. Now we're going to go to medium. We're going to put roughly 4.5 watts of power in this thing. Bink, off the scale again. So now we're going to go to an odd integer. So 250 times 5 is what? Well, we know 4 times, okay, 4 times 250 is 1,000, so 1,250 watts. There's our 5. Very small inputs. So let's see, that would be man, shoot, I wish I had this in a different scale. Had to be 700? Yeah, because full deflection would be 12, so that's half. That's 700 some watts with only 4 watts of input power. So let's go ahead and we'll turn our drive level way back down again. Otherwise, pull the bias off the tube. Okay, now we're going to go to high. And there's our full kilowatt. We'll go a little bit further with it. Jeez, it's 1,300 or 1,200. That's 1,200 watts worth of power with 30 watts worth of drive. Holy smokes. It's pulling 900 mils. It's 300 higher than what it should, but of course that means that we're over. So let's back this down. The manual says 700 mils. That's a full kilowatt right there. But we can go further. Watts, 1,250 watts ish. That's a lot of 2-meter horsepower. If they can't hear you in the repeater with that, they ain't never going to hear you. I'm just here to say. So what are we getting for exhaust air temperature? Oh yeah, we're up to 133 degrees. I would not recommend running it like this, taking into account the tube now, an actual brand new iMac now, brand new. Not some eBay pool, because I can see some internet goober out there going, well look, I found one on eBay. No, an actual legit straight out of the box from IMAX is like 1,300 bucks. That tube. Now, some person out there is going to cry foul. It's okay. Very clearly is what it is. That's in 5x. So here's our 30 watts going in. It's drive. We're down on 1x in the corner. We'll go to 2x in the corner, hard in the corner. 5x, so 1,250 watts, 1,250 watts displayed. Hard in the corner. With 30 watts of drive. That's what 30 watts of drive looks like. Right there. Just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. That's literally the power from this radio into the meter, into the amp, out of the amp, into the dummy load. Cool, huh? I just had to call my buddy and say, are you sure you want to get rid of this thing? I mean, it's making tremendous power. It's so effortless. Like, dude, you wouldn't believe the amount of power this thing's making. Are you sure you want to? He's like, oh yeah, get rid of it. So we're over a full kW. Is it the radio that's tripping? It's the radio that's tripping. It's a radio. So we're over a full kW. Easy. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Now, this thing does not have a cool down mode. So, in all fairness, you can't just slam this off. You got to give it a couple minutes. Like a good 3 or 4 minutes. See, that's down from 130 degree exhaust air temperature, which is nothing, to 104, 101, 100. So just take it, put it in standby, and let it cool off. This is a beautiful amplifier, and I mean beautiful amplifier. Beautiful amplifier. You don't know what I would have given when I was a kid. I was really into the other band stuff. Where did I put that? I got something here I want to show you guys. Where'd it go? Oh, it's right here in front of me. What's kind of creepy is all of that can be done with this little guy. So everything in here can be done solid state wise with a heat sink, a hunk of copper, a BLF 188 XR, and a 50 volt supply. God, I bought this back in 2016. Whew. We want to talk about a project that's put on the back burner. Holy smokes. Well, I've seen these go, people ask, and I've seen these go for around $2,000. See, we're already down to 80 degrees. 80. 80. Here's another really cool transistor I've been quietly waiting to play with if I'd ever get free time. This is the ARF 1505. That's a neat another little MOSFET that I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to work with. But good things come to those who wait. Probably when I'm about 60, I'll have enough free time to build that, and it'll be dinosaur technology. But it's a transistor that my good friend Prime helped develop and brought to the market. A good transistor. I've seen these go for around $2,000. And the latest one that I seen was on eBay. It was in 2017. It went for $2,100 and it had a big old dent in the corner of it. This amplifier is pristine. There's not a scratch one on it anywhere. On the front, in the back, there's a tiny little scratch by the 12 volt output RCA jack. It's about that big. So being that this is 10 being mint, internally it's perfect mint. Tube's in pristine condition. The tube itself's worth $1,200 all day. I have been strongly encouraged to ask at least $2,200 for this amp. That's where we got to sit. It's $2,200. Full legal limit, basically. Input air 75, exhaust air 76. And that's from 130 degrees all the way down. It comes with a full set of service diagrams and the actual original manual in the original folder leaflet. It is wired 220. They say it's wireable for 110, but I'd strongly suggest that you leave it wired 220. It will come in 3 pieces. The tube will come separate from the transformer, which will come separate from the amplifier. So there is some minor assembly required. Remember, we got to do the transformer that way, or otherwise it'll end up bending the deck. The tube is too valuable to risk it popping out and bouncing around on the inside of this RF deck and damaging the RF deck or damaging the tube, so it has to come separately from the amp. That's not negotiable. This has to come in a wood crate, so will the transformer, and the tube will come in its own separate packaging. So, anyhow, gentlemen, the Commander 2 2-meter model. They also make this in a 6-meter and a 70 centimeter model, which I'd love to see the inside of the deck for the 70 centimeter model, which I'm probably sure as soon as I get done with this, as I'm editing the video, I'm gonna go Google that and see if I can see pictures in the inside of the RF deck, because this was impressive to me. This is a neat little box, and I'm really, really excited to be able to bring this to you guys. If not for you to buy it, but at least for you to get familiar with the technology and be able to have it as a reference going forward into the future. Gentlemen, I appreciate everybody tuning in. For those of you that don't know, that's my phone number there in the background. I'm far from an expert on anything, but I know a lot about a lot of different little things. Big shout out to Excess Power, big shout out to Siglent, big shout out to Bird and Coaxial Dynamics. Coaxial, I will be calling you later today. It's time for me to get some more elements, because it's time for this little business to expand and grow. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and I give a big thanks to every single one of you guys that tune in and watch every one of these little fun videos. Appreciate every single one of you guys, and on to the next one, which I believe is a 10 Tech Titan. We'll see you. Bye.